Uchis, Red Moon in Venus album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest album from Miss Uchis. She has been at it for quite some time now. Singer, songwriter. She started turning heads many a moon ago with some really great features, specifically on my first introduction to her was her vocal performance on Tyler the Creator's See You Again. But it was her full-length debut, Isolation, that made a lot of people overnight fans. And this album, regrettably, it took me a really long time to check out. A few years before I really gave it a listen. And I'm really still kicking myself about that to this day, just because of how good it is. The steamy vocals, the fantastic features, just how adventurous it is. This album has a ton of personality. It has, I don't know, it has the intimacy of some classic neo-soul and some classic R&B, but it also is not afraid at all to venture out into the worlds of reggaeton and funk and bossa nova. It's really exciting. Now, I did chat about her on this channel with her 2020 EP, To Feel Alive, and honestly, I was very, very, very let down with this EP. I thought just overall the performances were lackluster, and it showed Callie kind of just, I don't know, spinning her wheels a little bit. So much so that I didn't even take a second look at her second album that came out shortly after. But when I did eventually get around to listening to Sin Miedo, I was impressed, at least to an extent. I mean, I didn't really hold up to Isolation, which did, I don't know, it just upset me at the end of the day. But I did think it was a much more odd, sort of experimental album, and for that, I gave Callie a lot of credit. Which leads me to this new album here, Red Moon in Venus. Leading up to it, I was super impressed with the singles, especially her vocals. My God, they sound heavenly. And overall, on this album, I think she exceeded every one of my expectations. Early on in the album, we get I Wish You Roses, and my lord, this is breathtaking. The lush atmosphere, Callie's heavenly vocals, it is gorgeous. It's jazzy, it's colorful, it's sweet, it's full of love. Like, how am I supposed to be in a bad mood with this on right now? Intoxicating is the word, my friends. This is one of the better R&B singles I've heard in a while. This is one of the best Uchis singles I've heard in freaking forever. And man, alternative R&B and neo-soul is killing it right now. Worth the Wait featuring Omar Apollo, on the other hand, is a little bit more on the funky side. But it's just as dreamy, just as hazy. It is immaculately produced. But it's also patient. It's sexy. It is steamy and oh so colorful. It's just so easy to take in as well. And I get the feeling here that Callie is just making her own little musical world, and it's very inviting. It is gorgeous, and Love Between. This track is beautiful enough to bring a tear to my eye. I mean, this so far is easily one of the most beautiful and full of love albums I've heard in so long, and this track is absolutely no different. It's one of my favorite deep cuts. Her vocals are chillingly beautiful. I mean, this instrumental is just so warm and sunny and inviting. It's well produced again. And also, at the end of the day, just what a beautiful sentiment. I am so happy right now. She just keeps going on with these great tracks with All Mine. This is one of the most visual tracks here. This instrumental is just so vast. It almost gets ambient at parts, especially in the first leg of it. But after that, we just get funky licks, great vocals, Callie being a presence. Obviously, I'm a fan of any artist that can make their own little world out of their music, but Callie has done it so quickly and so eloquently. And Fantasy, featuring Don Tolliver, might be the best collaboration here. It is really impressive. These two have so much chemistry. And I love how this track slowly becomes one of the weirder and more far out tracks there. Yes, it has the bright and sunny beat, but it's also got this weird, hazy, psychedelic production. I love this. And listen, if you are new to Callie's music and looking for a jumping in point, this may be a great place to start because it's very hip at the end of the day. Como Te Quiero Yo is also really good. This track is almost Callie's sort of stab at a steamy lounge jam, but it's done really tastefully. The instrumental is super patient. It's got this smoky atmosphere. God, it's so good. And her vocals, once again, are the star of the show. I mean, it definitely has that old school, Quiet Storm, just old school R&B, energy to it and the personality of it, but it's also really colorful and something new. It's also really dramatic at the end of the day. Yeah, I don't have a lot of bad to really report here, and I'm so glad that I don't. I wanted to love this album, and I do. I mean, In My Garden intro was just not really, I don't know, it just doesn't do anything for me. You could have very easily started off this album with I Wish You Roses, and it would have been just as powerful. Endlessly is a little disappointing for me. I mean, this album has been really about her just creating her own little niche in modern R&B and neo-soul. But everything about this track just kind of seems rehashed in a weird way. It just rubs me the wrong way, and I'm just not into it. The melody is also very, very plain. I mean, it's not the biggest sin in the world. I just know she could do so much better. And I have a lot of the same feelings on Blue. I actually think Blue is the worst track here. With all the fresh, new, exciting, adventurous sounds of this album, this just shows up and it just sounds rehashed. I mean, the synths are really nice and the jazzy elements are something I wish we got so much more of on this album, but I couldn't tell you this was a Uchis track at the end of the day. Outside of that though, Cali has really exceeded my expectations in every way. I don't know if I prefer this over Isolation, but it sure as hell is giving it a run for its money. Hasta Quando has this really great futuristic production. It just sounds so new and shiny. And the sheer swagger in Cali's performance here, it is suffocating in the best way. And I appreciate, much like Isolation, her reaching out to different genres, trying out bringing in different influences, I should say, trying some new things and getting adventurous. It's beautiful, it's sexy, it's super confident. Also, oh God, Moral Conscience is easily my favorite track here. This one has definitely some Tyler, the Creator, Flower Boy vibes to it. It's hazy, it's got that sleek funk and those heavy synths. It's laid back, and as far as a vocal performance goes, look no further. This is my favorite of the album. And on top of that, I love how mature, even introspective this track is. This is so good. Cali is just pushing all the right buttons. I also really do like the Not Too Late interlude. This is how you do an interlude. It's got some sass to it. It's got some thoughts of its own. It really does tie the album together. Her semi-rap verse is really classy. I mean, this instrumental is really smoky. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it has a place here and it ties together a lot of the themes of this album. This is how you do it. And Deserve Me, featuring Summer Walker, is an awesome collaboration. I love the playful synths that we get here, and the chemistry between the two of them as well is really fun. I mean, this has already been a very smooth album, but this track takes it up a next level. And it's just catchy enough. It's just catchy enough to stick with you, especially Summer's verse, because that thing is catchy. And Moonlight comes along, and I've gotten so lost in this album that I forgot this was even a single. It is so good. It is so intoxicating. It is so beautiful. It's so easy to get lost in between her vocals and the jazzy vibes. Hell yes. And Happy Now as a finale is a very bright, very upbeat, and colorful, and bubbly synth pop tune. And it's not exactly where I thought we would be ending off this album, and I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't know if I would enjoy a whole album in this style from Uchis, but for a really carefree and fun and just different track as a finale, it does really work with the album and just kind of, I don't know, ties that little bow up a little tight on the little present that this album is. Yeah, this thing's really, really good. She exceeded all my expectations, especially since I've been down on her for a little while now, but this shows her getting back to her adventurous side. Her vocals have come full circle, and they've always been good, but here it's amazing. And this album just shows her, God, really creating her own little musical world of love and life. And God, the production is great. The performances are charismatic. I don't have a lot of bad things to say here, and I'm really happy that I don't. I'm feeling a very strong 8 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.